Ben.
Excuse me?
All right. Welcome. This is Pantheon
Train them if you don't like them.
PlusYou number 58, and we are super excited to be here. We got a lot to talk about this week. We have a co-stream that happened last Friday, early in the morning. We also have a producer's letter that dropped today, and last but not least, we also have a Watcher's Pledge to give away. So it's going to be a super fun stream. We're going to give our thoughts, but we also want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear everybody's thoughts about all the stuff that we're going to discuss today. So you can certainly jump in the green room in the Pantheon Plus Discord, and when it's your turn, Therek will pull you up, and we will heal for everybody. But I don't want to forget my esteemed co-hosts, the puppeteer himself, Mr. the NathanNapalm.
Hey guys, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And the one and only Ranger, my lore guide and reader of all quests, Therek.
Hey, everybody. It's glad to be back. It feels like forever since we've done one of these shows, so I'm super hyped. It's been a great couple of weeks. We've got a lot to talk about.
All right, so we should start with the co-stream that happened last Thursday. I love...
Before we get to that, Draq,
Oh.
I want to mention the giveaway, right? So I want to tell people how to enter the giveaway. So, right, what we're doing tonight is we're doing a giveaway for a Watcher's Pledge. So if you want to, at the end of the show, we'll announce we're going to draw names. So the way to enter the draw is if you're in chat, just hit at Therek. So ping me so I can see your name. I'll put your name into the hat and keep it there until we get to the end of the show, and then I'll just run the draw and we'll give it away at the end of the show. So if you want a Watcher's Pledge, tonight might be your lucky night.
This is it. This is your moment to stop being a lurker and to jump in and be a participant and a pledger for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. That gets you into the forums. That gets you, you're now... What the Watcher Pledge is... that's the game, right? You get in.
Yeah.
So you get to be there on launch day with us. Be super fun.
Yep. It's always a good time. So we do these giveaways on the rewind sometimes. So let's do one for this, and good luck to everybody.
All right.
Train them if you don't like them.
Oh, Eddie Marcus, thank you for the gift subs. So let's talk about the co-stream.
Train them if you don't like them.
I love the co-stream. The thing I loved about it, just like overall, not to get into the
Train them if you don't like them.
nitty-gritty details yet, but the thing I liked about it most is everybody looked like they were having a great time, or at least Cohh looked like he was having a great time, and everybody else sounded like they were having a great time, and it just looked like a lot of fun.
Train them if you don't like them.
Some of the streams in the past, I thought were maybe like the play streams. I thought were a little dry, but this one really looked like everybody was having a lot of fun, and everybody was Cohh had to concentrate to keep up with what was going on. And so that was for me. I thought that was my major takeaway from the stream is just I was watching Cohh, and he was having to focus, and he was having to try to do stuff, and obviously he was streaming too, so that makes it harder. But but it was just
one of the things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Draq, one of the things that I noticed, you mentioned, people having fun, is that occasionally at certain moments when Cohh did something that they didn't expect, or when they showed something that they didn't think they would get to show, you heard the excitement in Joppa's voice, like the time when he got that false wall and sort of went around the corner. And Joppa's like, I don't think anybody, any of the PA testers had found this yet. There was this this excitement of you've discovered something that we wanted you to discover, but we didn't know if you would or not. When the developers are having fun at their own game, it's a pretty good sign.
Well, and they do that a lot, right? They're not spoiling things. They're not leading people to stuff or surprising things. They're just letting people explore, and when they explore stuff, it's real and it's genuine. It's not like it's for the video, quote unquote. It was he truly stumbled onto that by accident, so that's part of the fun.
That's a lost art too, right? Like, more often than not, the developer has something really cool, and they want to kind of point you in that direction and kind of steer you towards it because they're really proud of it and think it's cool. So it's pretty awesome to go back to the old days where it's like, hey, maybe this one thing we put in the game people won't even figure out till 5 years down the road. Like, and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting when you find something. Like in chat, like Des said, organic. That he's talking about the final fight, but that organic exploration and finding secrets you can't beat that. That's cool.
Yeah, the pit that they fell that Cohh fell down after Sacred. I mean, that was a little bit set up maybe by Sacred. I think he kind of pointed him in that direction, which is fun though. I mean, even though that was sort of set up, it was still fun because they got a laugh out of it. Cohh got a laugh out of it,
and those are the kind of things that are gonna happen, right? Like you're gonna be in a group with somebody and you ain't been there before, and they're gonna set you up for hilarious situations like that. And I always welcome a game that allows that much freedom to where you can do that, because it's gonna happen. Stuff like that's gonna happen when you're out and about playing Pantheon. The veterans are going to play some little pranks on people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's part of the social aspect of it, right? It's one of the hardest things to show is like the natural social aspect of a game like this, and I thought they showed it really well. It's something that, like we've been saying, it's hard to set up, but when you do it, it comes off really well.
Yeah, and if VR, if you need more people that need to show the natural gaming aspect of pre-alpha, we are here ready and willing at any moment to step in and take the bullet on that.
I've made that argument before. Yeah.
If you have any reservations about that we just play it without doing our homework, then you haven't watched the MMORPG 101 show.
Obviously not.
We proved that we just go in there. We don't know what's up, and we like that.
You don't have to know the game to have a good time. Let's just put it that way. We've shown this over and over again.
Yeah. So anything else about the Cohh stream that you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I had a couple points. Go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say my largest takeaway was that it's the progress, I feel like, from the last time we seen Pantheon in a public setting like this in a stream is massive. Like, just it feels and looks and is running so good, and we know that there's still so many more things to do, right? Like the network stack, etc., that's going to really give it that polishing feel. But like already, just the amount of progress just felt so good. Extra mobs, I mean, that we've never seen in public light before. The general layout of the dungeon itself was just fantastic and cool. Yeah, I just felt like the progress was super obvious from the last time we've seen him play 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, it must be interesting, from Cohh's perspective, because he plays it, infrequently, and he doesn't really, as far as we know, keep up with some of that followed as closely as we do. So for him to go from, what he saw 6 months ago or however long it was ago when he did his last stream with them, must be interesting, because he commented on that right at the very beginning. He said, this keeps looking better and better every time. Which is a great thing. And even for us who follow it closely, like the spell animations are getting better and better. The mechanics, the class skill mechanics are getting better. So the thing that I noticed most about the Cohh stream and what's sort of stuck with me and I've been thinking about ever since was the Enchanter. The Enchanter stuff we saw was nuts. I'm looking back and rewatching the stream, and I'm looking for what spells were being cast and how the mechanics worked. The spell turn thing was ridiculous, and it got commented on 3 or 4 times during the stream because Adam kept doing such cool things with it. Right, he was stealing different spells, and Joppa kept prompting him to talk about it because it was so interesting, and I find myself still reflecting on that a week later, and I'm a ranger, but man, it playing an enchanter is looks so fun. It looks so fun. It made me want to play an enchanter.
This just in, Therek will be switching to Enchanter for day 1 release.
If you see an alt running around, if you see a gnome enchanter running around and it's similar to Therek, if it sounds like Therek phonetically, might be.
Therek,
Therek. 2Ks,
like
3Ks on the end, Therek.
Therek X, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. There you go, Desireen got it. He called it Desireen.
There you go.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, you were talking about progress is the main thing for me was the because we've been doing the MMORPG 101 and all these mobs and all these other MMOs, they just stand there and they hit you back. It's all tank and spank. It's like there's nothing that you can't see coming. The mobs were doing stuff. They were reacting. They were. It was the progress on that, and then the boss mob at the end. Like he's just a dungeon boss mob, but he had like a real like raid feel to him. Oh, that's actually up on the screen right now. Yeah, he had like a real like you had to hide behind the pillars and like you had like it was crazy. So I really wish
none of them did.
Which
none of them hid
did.
behind the pillars.
They just stood there and took it like a trooper.
They took it full blast right in the face. They totally did.
Hey, that looked like my group.
Yeah, been there, man. Been there, done that. It was it was a very relatable stream.
I feel like you gotta die to each mechanic once, right?
Yeah,
like it's like, all right, we're gonna take it
sure.
this time, and then now we know, stand behind the pillar, and then we'll die to the next mechanic, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, no, it was highly enjoyable. You're talking about the AI Draq, and they talked about it quite a bit. You know, about mobs that can break mez, and these are things that they sort of set up in previous developer streams. We've seen some of the mob AI highlighted lately with breaking mez and assisting their fellow NPCs and the mobs sort of working together. And we saw a little bit of that, and we saw one where they have a spell that targets Joppa or targets spellcasters, I guess, with a chance to silence them. So you saw that mob specifically going after Joppa, who was playing the shaman, which is very cool and very right on point with what they've been talking about lately.
Maybe they should make an actual trait where it quite literally goes for Joppa only. Right. So Joppa logs into the game. And all these mobs just
that dude's coming for him.
Yeah. But yeah, the traits, man, that is a game changer, man. This is the kind of promises they've been making since the beginning of like dynamic encounters and every encounter being fun and engaging. And the traits are really, now that we're starting to see that be in the game, that is like that's next level, right? Because that's a super big complaint is that like modern MMOs it's trash mobs. It's just tons of trash mobs and then a tank and spank and then more trash mobs and maybe a mechanic or two and then it's too repetitive when you could just be having fun the whole time. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
you could.
You don't have to limit our fun. You can make us have fun all the time.
That's hard work, though, Nathan. To do stuff like that,
right.
Developers have to work hard, and
it's true.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of that going on sometimes. But these devs are so focused on curating interesting and challenging content, and it showed in this stream. It was like it just made you shake your head and think, why doesn't every game, aim for this kind of engagement?
Right.
So.
Right, and they kept having to remind Cohh to look up and down for the climbing. That was super funny. They're like, make sure you look up, make sure you look down, like because it's not just a vertical world. We're not just going down one path that leads to a boss, that leads to second boss, that leads to third boss, and then we're done. Right? It's not, and we're exploring an area, and we don't know what we're going to run into, and maybe we'll find some cubby hole that like nobody ever found before. So that's super cool for me.
Yeah, I think Cohh made a good comment at one point in the stream, and he said, whenever you logs into an MMO these days, the idea is you have area A, you clear the quests and the mobs in area A, you move on to area B, you clear the mobs and quests in area B, move on to area C, and so on and so forth, right? And when he plays Pantheon or he gets to play with the devs here, he doesn't get that feeling at all. Like it's a condensed experience for sure. It's not an open big world, but he knows that they're not designing it with that template, right? This you can go here, you can go there, you can go all over the place. There's no linear progression in terms of your experience, and even at times in Halnir we saw there were areas where Joppa's like, I don't think we can go there quite yet because we're not quite geared enough, So you could have explored to those. You could have climbed down that pit after he found the secret wall, but he didn't. Could have gone to a bunch of different places, but he didn't because they weren't ready for that yet. But what's important is that they could have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's gonna be my group's gonna die a lot too. Me jumping down pits. That's already.
Me too.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, future Pantheon groups.
Yeah, that's
But I also want to mention that a large portion of our of the community, a big portion of it, has been playing the same game or games for so long that there's no stone unturned in EverQuest, right? Like, come on now, like there's nothing left for us to be like, oh, this is crazy. This blows my mind, right? So I think just they didn't take the easy path because they could have took the easy path and just like kind of replicated EverQuest with better graphics, and you know what, I would have been there too, right? But they didn't take the easy path. They evolved it, especially that trait system, man. That's the killer for me, because like you saw, like we were talking about earlier, you saw that like mobs were going for the healer. Like they were. It was like that's how you would behave, right? If if you were fighting a group of mobs and one of them was a healer, you would try to kill that one first. And to see that in PvE, we're getting a little bit of that kind of like smart tactics where it's not just an idiot. And I want to mention that I just came off another show. And we're talking about D&D and how you don't taunt in D&D, right? Like there's dice rolls and they attack whatever. You don't just sit there and the tank doesn't hold all the aggro, right? And it does make the battles more interesting. And the trait system's kind of allowing a little bit more of that D&D type system in there where, hey, he might not care how much hate you have. He knows that healer's keeping you alive, and he's gonna go for that, right? So everybody on their toes, healers beware. You can no longer just chill out in the background and run the group and get blamed for everything. You now might actually get targeted regardless of the tank's abilities.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There are no free rides in Pantheon.
I have an excuse as a tank now. I'm like, he must have had a trait.
Yeah, for sure.
It must have been a trait. I was doing my job.
Anti paladin trait.
And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I saw this, or I don't remember seeing this in the stream. But I did see it in the producer letter that we got today, that the shaman has a spell that can unmez people in your group, and so
Yes.
that means that there is upcoming mobs that are going to begin to mez us, and we're going to be the ones that are sitting there with the little moon thing over our head, not doing anything. While like, can you imagine the enemy mob mezzing your tank, and then like 4 other mobs go for your healer, or they mez the mezzer, right? They mez the Enchanter, like they're faster, and then they go for the healer. That has like insane gameplay to it. I think that'll be thoroughly interesting if they implement that type of stuff.
Yeah. It's so intriguing. The possibilities are endless. Somebody mentioned in chat, I want to bring this up because I did have a bit of a not complaint, but criticism of the stream was a little bit that I wish they gave Cohh more time to prep for the stream,
Yes.
to set up his skills, to set up his hot bar a little bit, get familiar with what he can do, because Pantheon's not the kind of game where you can just jump in and start playing, right? Like, it's not where your skills don't matter. You can just use them randomly like we do on 101, right? We just jump in and we just start hitting skills. We're like, oh, this seems cool, whatever. Pantheon's not like that, right? Like, it's very, it matters what skill you're using when you're using it. And I feel like the streams are a little bit hampered because he's learning on the fly and he's learning in the moment that we're trying to, which is, it's good to show the skills. It's good for the audience because we get to see the rogue skills and we sort of learn as he's learning them, which is, there's some logic in that, I think. But I think, just for him to be a better entertainer, be a better experience, I think he would, and again, it's probably a scheduling thing, who knows, but I'd like to see him have a little more prep time.
Yeah, while he's streaming to like how many people were watching that stream? It was crazy.
Like 15,000.
Yeah, 15. Yeah. While he's streaming to 15,000 people, learning the game and trying to figure and pulling.
Yeah, Cohh's a really good pick for that too, because I know everybody notices that like every time he streams Pantheon, there'll be a ton of people in the chat being like, "What's this game? Never heard of it. This looks really cool. Why have I never heard of this game before?" So he's like the perfect guy to be showing things like this because he's getting brand new eyes on Pantheon that I don't feel like a lot of other content creators could get.
Mhm.
And he loves EverQuest and old school classic gameplay, classic spirited gameplay. So he really is the perfect guy. Like,
And-
I'm so glad they got that partnership going.
And he's doing it for free, so that's
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, for the small indie. Well, he gets the perks.
Free.
He gets perks, but
He gets perks. Yeah.
but from what I understand, they're not, or from what they've said on the stream, they're not. He's not sponsored. They're not paying him. For
No, yeah, it's free for Visionary Realms,
Right.
which is awesome. Like, they don't
Yeah.
have to pay.
Yeah.
No, thank God.
I'll just point out in chat too, Madaki is in chat, and he said, that's time that they would have loved to have had as well. So, it's clearly it's just a matter of time
Scheduling.
constraints and
Yeah.
scheduling and people that, everybody's busy and trying to maximize, the time that they have. So it's totally understandable. But just one of those small things I noticed.
All right, let's move on to the producer's letter then. I thought the producer's letter was really well done. I loved all the pieces of it, except for the lore part, which I skipped. Because
I didn't see that coming. Draq.
I'm waiting for Therek to make. I'm trying to support you, Therek. I need you to make the video, and so then I'll know the lore. Yeah,
Why should we read it with the voice in our heads?
Right.
When you can read it with the voice out of your mouth, and you can put it in our head.
If I read it, it's just going to be reading it with Therek's voice anyway. So why don't I just wait till Therek reads it to me?
Wow, you're living very efficient lives. I'll try and help you when I can. I recommend you read it because I think JN's words are worth the time spent reading. I know you guys are joking around, but yeah, no, it was. I'm so glad we got some lore. It feels like it's been so long. Yeah. There's a little tweet earlier this week from JN, and I kind of replied to it, and I was like, are you saying we might get some lore? Because it was like him stretching, limbering up, getting ready to, work his magic. And sure enough, he said a little bit was his response when I asked him about it. So I didn't know if that was like sarcastic a little bit or actually just a little bit, but this lore piece was really cool. So I won't spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it. You guys need to go read it. I did. Madaki, I liked it very, very much. It was a great part 1 too. So we know there's more coming. There's more part to this tale. So yeah, go check it out, everybody. It's really, 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 really well written.
It was a meaty producer's letter too. Like, very meaty. The features on the side where you can kind of click through, you can do the lore, and they got the feature with Bounty Code and Sparrow, and I thought this was a really good one, super professional, and also love the screenshots. The werewolf, the wolfkin, is that what they're called? I think. Freaking fantastic! That is cool looking.
There was a little bit of something for everybody.
I'd also like to say that now we can publicly say, after getting about 600 direct messages of what happened to Minas, did you guys kill him?
Seriously, I think
that he has joined the VR team officially as a content producer for them. So obviously we are super excited for him and super happy for him. He's living out his dream, and dude, we couldn't be happy for him. And so congrats to Minas or Transmog Bear or the mind of Minas or whatever we're calling him now.
Well, so many things. He's out of witness protection for one, which is great because now we can talk about it. Because I've been the same thing, and people ask me like, "Where is he? What do you do? Did he get burned out? Did he step away?" And I'm like, I don't know. He's around. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, you guys don't understand. We were silenced. We were told like, here's what's going on, but like you can't say anything to anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And no matter what I said, it always sounds so tragic. Like I'd be well, when Minas is ready to talk about it, we'll talk about it. They're like, oh my God, what happened? Like, I mean, it's probably good. I don't know.
Yeah, it was very like ominous, very like we got together and something happened to him. Who knows what was going on? But yeah, no, and he they talked about it in the newsletter. What he came out swinging for the fences. I think the way they put it. And when I heard that, I was like, yep, that's Minas. I'm like, yep, that's how he does things. There's no less than 100% the way he does things. It's like it's like full gas pedal down, let's go. And they talked about how he worked on that monk piece, the little Twitter video that they did a couple weeks ago, and the putting the newsletter together. So it doesn't surprise me at all. He's an amazing person and content creator and everything, and he's really we're getting the benefits of that now. We're getting the benefits of that. Wise choice, in my opinion, to hire him on as their content creator. So
But
congrats.
I refuse to call him Tony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Negative on the Tony.
I
Sorry.
can't. No, I don't call. I knew that was his name, but he's minus, man. He's not Tony. He's Anthony, Tony, whatever they want to call him. That's just
Not
like
gonna
his
call him
alias.
Tony, ever.
No.
It's not gonna happen.
Somebody in the Discord was saying the same thing, and I had the exact same reaction, Nathan. I was like, I don't know who Tony is.
I'm glad I was able to make the minuses in my basement joke before the official announcement, though. And when we got to play Star Wars the other day, I was like, man, I gotta make that joke because the announcement's probably coming. Gonna make
That's
that joke
right.
that I've got minus.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm right there with you, Draq. I mean, this newsletter was really great. Now, there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot to sort of go through in terms of like all the game development stuff and all the sort of pieces, the roadmap to the road to alpha. So they sort of broke that down quite a bit. What stood out to you guys in on that part of the newsletter?
Just the details of it all, like they've never had just like it all broken out before of like, okay, here's all the stuff and here's kind of where we are and here's what we're doing. It was just super detailed, and that really, I just really like that piece of it, just how detailed it was and how much information there was. Just I don't know if any specific part like jumped out to me, but just like the whole thing in itself and just how thorough it was just really stood out.
I tell you what stood out to me.
What's
Two
that?
things super made me like super hyped. Number one was they said player models, right? And they mentioned the Scar, the
Oh,
Dark
yeah.
Mirror, the Archive, and they're going to rig them so they can animate them, right? So that's super exciting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's going to add a lot of variety to anything they show off in the game, right? And those are the three. Well, I mean the gnome as well, but these three are super unique. So I've just been literally dying to see those in gameplay. And the other thing was they were talking about the NPC models, right? The skeletons, the lycanthropes, and the wraiths. So, you know, I'm really enjoying seeing new models added to the game. Like this is what they look like, right? Like this is what because you're kind of setting the pace, in my opinion, for how things feel by the way mobs look. I've always if a game has cool looking mobs, I can play it for much longer, right? Like I just love looking at mob detail and all that kind of thing. So that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely what I am excited about.
Yeah, ever since we saw that developer stream a while ago where they showed the Dark Mirror, the Scar, and the Archive models,
Yeah.
I've been like, you have to sort of imagine what they look like in motion in your head because those models were awesome. They look so good, but we'd never seen them in motion. So the fact that they're getting them rigged up and ready for that is like,
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
and armor. They also talked about fitting them for armor. So I'm really excited because currently, when you put on stuff, it doesn't do anything. So I'm super excited to see when the devs start putting on armor and we can see the armor. So
Well, some of them do. The human, like some of the models we saw in the stream, actually in the co-stream. I think Sacred put on some chainmail at one point, and you could see it on his character. I think Tehom put on a hood, and you could see that on his character. So there is some for the humans. They definitely have
oh,
some.
that's right, the humans. Yeah.
Yeah, they have some ability to show the items on their bodies now, and which is like what everybody's in MMOs for, right? I mean, maybe, but like seeing your
Huge
equipment
part of it.
equipped is a huge part of this. So
Yeah, even the people who are like, I'm all about the stats. Well, if they
Yeah.
still do enjoy, and when they put on that new piece of armor, I promise they're spinning their camera around to see what it looks like, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
important to everybody. It's
Yeah,
important to everybody.
100%. Yeah, for me it was a couple things. The Wild's End, or Wild's End being the area that they're working on, and they've gray boxed it out, and now they're sort of moving forward with developing that area is awesome, because I still have those old videos in my head of Wild's End, so I know it's obviously going to look way different now, and I'm excited to see sort of the evolution of that from where it was way back when they showed those old videos. So I hope
What
that.
level is Wild's End? What do we remember, or do we know?
Well, the lore talks about there being different level ranges in the area, like from a sort of a starting area right outside Sohirith to some higher end areas. There's quite a few distinct areas in the lore, the way the lore sort of separates it out. So there is something, if I remember, about like a level range, but I don't recall what it is. I just know that right around Sohirith is sort of a newbie area, and then there's some quite a few different level ranged areas.
Nice.
But yeah, so I have to say, and then people are saying it in chat, and I'm trying to forget, I'm trying to ignore it, but we did get some bad news for rangers and summoners.
Wah,
So
wah, wah.
as much as the ranger lives in my mind and was hoping to live in reality soon, we might be waiting a little longer for ranger and summoner, and I think that obviously I'm disappointed that that's going to be delayed a little bit, but the reason that they gave, I think, was important, that they figured it's more efficient to do their networking and the other technical pieces they need to do first, because it affects the pet aspects of both classes. Obviously, the summoner more, but if it means we get to where we need to be faster at the end of the day, then I'll take that. It's fine. Like I can be patient a little longer, and it's not it's a little bit of a buzzkill, not buzzkill, but it's a little bit deflating, because we sort of, that was going to be the next thing we were going to see, was maybe the ranger, but it's okay. I'm glad that they're doing the right thing, even for a little bit of a cost.
Yeah, I agree. And the network stack's super important. We're getting all that laid out, because as we move closer to alpha, and as we enter that, right, whenever that time may come, man, it's a totally different ball game, right? Like
There'll
the
be a
amount of
lot more
people that
people.
will be, yeah. So they gotta get that completely ironed out, and I think they're kind of seeing like, hey, we've got to get this figured out, because we're headed for a train wreck otherwise, right? Like we won't
Yeah.
even be able to get the data we need, because the servers will constantly crash, or what have you. So I think they're making the right decision. Of course, it's easy for me to say that because Paladin didn't get delayed, right? I think I'd be crying a little
You
bit
were
if
you
that
were
were
waiting anyway. Yeah.
the case.
Your weight has remained the same.
Right, my weight has not changed.
No. Yeah, but yeah, no, for the good of the game, and like people are saying in chat, it's better to get it right and wait for good things come to those who wait.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, the last thing that was on there was they're working on Black Rose Keep for the next PA session.
Yeah.
That was the Black Rose Keep was the first video I saw for Pantheon, and so that's always been one of my favorite zones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
from
that's
the
when I started
streams.
getting obsessed with Pantheon. Was around the time that was what they were showing all the
Yeah.
time. That was when I was like started being like, okay, that's it. Now, I'm not just like excited about this game. This is my life.
Yeah,
I've
there's something unique about Black Rose Keep that I think resonates for EQ people especially, and not to say for anybody else it doesn't, but there's just something about it that's very reminiscent, very mind takes you back a little bit to some old EQ stuff, and I think that people like it for that reason. So yeah, I'm excited for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Before we
um.
move on, you mentioned earlier, I want to jump before, because Sparrow and Bonnie Cout are in the chat and part of
Yes.
the community. And hey, they got featured on the community spotlight as, what it means to be family gaming. And I love that they did that. I mean, I talk to both of them quite often. They're part of our Plus Guild, and we have, Sparrow joins us for the 101s occasionally. And, just awesome to see that story told, very personal sort of story about how they met and their relationship, and then got into gaming and MMOs and how it fits into their life. And it's just super cool. So really really good to see them featured like that.
Yeah, I'm glad they brought those back. So I don't know. I don't think I've ever told you this story. I think I maybe just told this to Minus. So the reason I started doing the Plus profiles is because if you'll remember back when they were doing the newsletters what was that, like circa 2018 or something like that, or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
was, is every time they had a community member spotlight, but then they stopped doing them, and so then I was like, all right, well, I'll pick it up, and so that's where the plus profiles were born, is because from those newsletters. So I'm super excited that they brought those back. I hope they keep doing them. They're super fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and great, awesome answers, by the way. Good
Mhm.
read. Sparrow gave some really cool insight into her earlier days of playing MMOs and how her and Bounty Co met through tabletop gaming, and very cool, very wholesome, good stuff. And probably most people are have had interactions with those two in the past, and just being around them is a very wholesome experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Just great people, good community members.
I love both of them so much.
Yeah, me too.
All right, should we pull? Should we pull some people in? There is plenty of room in the green room
Yeah.
still.
So who do we want to grab first? Who's our first victim?
I think Prek was first, so maybe we should pull Prek in.
I gotta say something real quick. Bounty Co said she even let me have one line of chat in the interview. It was a good line though. Yeah. It was good. You were talking about quad kiting, so you went right for gold when you did get to finally talk.
That's so true. That's so true. It's like just perfect encapsulation of what married life is like sometimes.
Sometimes.
So good.
Oh wait.
Nice. All right, so Prek, if you're ready, I'm going to pull you into the show here. So here we go. Hello, Prek.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Right on. So you've heard us babbling on for a while now already, talking about the co-stream, talking about the producer's letter. What's on your mind?
Well, couple of things. I think that montage that we're watching in your background was that's a Minus thing too. I think he put that together.
I can confirm. Confirm.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So I guess a couple of things. One would be the stream itself, and the other would be the newsletter as well. So the stream, it's funny that you mentioned it. You also mentioned it on the rewind, Therek, about I would say the first 20 and 30 minutes of that was kind of tough to watch, just because Cohh, he didn't know what he was doing, and it was very slow to get going.
Yeah.
But you guys talked about that. So after that, though, it was really good. It was awesome.
Yeah. I think it was just because we saw the dungeon ahead of us, right? And I think everybody was sort of feeling the oh, I want to see what's around that corner. And you were kind of it was just moving forward so slowly that we all felt the pull of the dungeon, and it was sort of feeling it a little bit. So yeah, I hear you.
Isn't that kind of realistic though? Like you go to a new place, you've been waiting to go all this time, you've been looking at the entrance for level after level, and you finally go in with the group, and there's that one guy.
Yeah.
He forgot his potion. He forgot this, and you're just like. And then he's crafting, and you're like, dude, would you please get here so we can do this? So I feel like, yeah, it was, but it's also kind of realistic, I think.
And
you're right.
And then he's screwing around, and then he dies, and then he's got to run back to the dungeon again. You left that part out.
Right? Yeah, or you got to go out on an adventure to raise him, bring him back. There's always that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine being Cohh there, not knowing, you didn't know you were playing a scout. You had no idea. You're playing around with your hot bars, and then you go, oh, by the way, we want you to pull. So go right ahead.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, that was tough. But once he got going, it's pretty much everything that I was hoping it would be. The mechanics of the fights, you needed the coordination from the whole group. Everybody was extremely important. You mentioned the actual Enchanter mezzing absolutely everything that came to them. It was good once it got going. The first thing that I noticed as soon as he went in there was just the graphics, just the background, especially those poison crystals. I remember the first previous streams, and those poison crystals were just green blobs on the side of the wall, but now they were just really refined graphics, and quite awesome to see the progress that they're making in that front.
Yeah, the atmosphere was good. The lighting was incredible. Yeah, so much just little touches, little improvements. When they first got to that floor and it was like the blue and sort of the atmosphere of it was very, very impressive. So yeah.
I feel like they've lightened it up a little bit. I feel like it's gotten more light as we've gone along. It was super dark from some of the previous streams for sure.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. But my question is that on purpose for the sake of streaming it, or is that an actual change? I wonder. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because that was a
good question.
complaint when we did the one stream, was we couldn't see much, right? It was
Mhm.
hard to watch because we couldn't see. So I wonder if they didn't do some adjustments specifically because they knew it was going to be streamed. They wanted you to be able to see better. Because when they do darkness, man, it's dark. You know, I
Super
couldn't see the
dark.
mob in front of my face, like literally. Everybody
Yeah.
remembers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we remember. Yeah, when the mobs were right in your face, we remembered it. But
We're upstairs though, and I didn't know I was looking at stairs. I thought I was just looking at a dark room, and I was like, I don't see the mobs. And then I like scrolled my mouse. I was like, oh, never mind, they're right there.
yeah, staring into the abyss when you actually weren't. Yeah, they might have changed it for the stream, but they did have the Enchanter with the light spell, which was a big change too.
True.
To not only cast it on himself, but cast it on Cohh too, which was a cool thing that I remembered as well.
Yeah.
Anything else, Prek? Anything else stand out to you?
Yeah, well, those little, I think they're crippling
Yeah.
mobs that they would get empowered by a certain element, the fire, the ice, and even the poison. Those were quite interesting, but it wasn't the fact that was their mechanic. Is a lot of people probably thinking, well, you have to look at the mob's buff bar or debuff bar or something to actually really tell, but you didn't, because they were, and one of the devs actually mentioned it. They're all color coded, so you could tell, right? The green's the poison, the blue was
Blue
the
is the
ice.
ice. Yeah.
So it's good that, and even that first time that Wraith blew up and killed, I believe, killed Cohh again. People knew something was coming based on the audio. Like, you knew something was up, and so it's good. It's good to see that being implemented. That you don't have to stare at a buff bar or a debuff bar. You could actually, enjoy it and understand something is going to happen based on the visual and the sound and the audio.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I thought that was it was like, yeah, overall it was quite good. You knew they the graphics, the animations of the skills and combats, and the graphics of the characters, all that's going to be improved. And so the sad thing is there's a lot more to be done, so it's just going to take time, and so you still have to be patient and everything. So that's probably the biggest gripe is we still have to be patient.
Yeah, agreed.
Hashtag Pantheon patient, bringing it back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Right on, man. All right, so yeah, no, thanks, Prek. Thanks for joining us, and we'll drop you out and stick around.
Okay, kicking me out already. No problem.
See you, man.
All right, catch you later.
All right.
Someone, Sparrow said in chat, Pantheon Ranger patient.
Yeah,
that's a new level. Yeah, that's a new level.
Listen, all you Rangers, you're gonna get to die soon enough. Just hold on, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, don't worry, you'll lose plenty of experience.
I would accept that. I would accept that. All right, are we ready for who's next? Who we want to grab next?
I got the video up, so I can't see who's in the. Who's
Okay,
in
so we've got Breakout, Desrin, LaFale, and yeah, how about LaFale? We haven't talked to him.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, LaFale, you're coming in, so if you want to unmute your mic and get ready, we'll pull you in. LaFale, hey man.
Hey, how you going?
Good. How are you?
I'm I'm good.
Nice. What time is it there? You're always for the rewind. You're always on like midnight time when we do the rewind.
Yeah, so right now it's almost 10 a.m.
Oh, good. So it's not so crazy for you.
No, it's not. It's the first day this week that hasn't been filled with meetings, so I'm enjoying it.
Oh, nice, nice. Right on. Well, thanks for joining us. What do you like? What was the co-stream or the producer's letter? What stands out for you?
Both really. I like the transparency in how they listed out the road to alpha in the newsletter. That's pretty much how I would approach something like that. I manage dev teams, so I'm all about being upfront, planning, and just being transparent with information. So I think
Yeah,
that's definitely a plus one in my book. And it was good to see Minus finally get, um,
and the
brought out into the
recognition he
light.
deserves.
Yeah. So congrats to Minus. The co-stream, I was just overwhelmed. I thought it was amazing. That dynamic gameplay. I think we've been missing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sometimes like we get different types of developer updates, right? Sometimes it's purely informational, sometimes it's demonstrations, sometimes it's something else. And these co-streams, I remember one of the co-streams they did. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but it was while my wife and I were traveling, and I was in a hotel, I think, and the Wi-Fi was like really spotty, and there was a co-stream scheduled for that night, and I was like, okay, I got to find the place in the hotel that has the best Wi-Fi reception. I don't care. I'll go to somebody else's room, like I'll go down to the lobby, wherever I have to go, because it was just like those co-streams are just such a good example of what the game, they really make you feel like you're in the game sometimes. So it's a treat whenever you get one of these. So good
Yeah, I
point.
agree. Something that Nathan said, he said he'll be happy with another EQ with better graphics, and I'm with him there. I would be happy with that too. But seeing how Pantheon is coming along, I think I'm ready and now more interested than I was before, playing something a bit different. It's still got that feel and that engagement that EQ had back in 2019, 99. But yeah, like Nathan said, we've experienced everything there is to experience in EverQuest. So I'm arguably more on board now than I was, and I always was on board, but far more interested to see what the future holds for Pantheon and what discoveries we'll make now than I was prior to the co-stream.
Yeah, oh, sorry, Draq.
No, go ahead.
I do feel like that, like what they've done here, it seems like, is they're approaching like, let's get the same experience that you got out of EverQuest, except that things have changed now, so we can't do it the exact same way. So we're going to find new ways to give you that same really cool, nerdy, hardcore kind of like pay attention to your class and your abilities and what you're fighting and where you're standing and crowd control and all the goodies. But they realize that we gotta do it differently now through traits and things like that to keep players on their toes, because everybody knows all the tricks, right? Like even and I'm not knocking it, right, but even the like run behind the pillar, right? We've seen that there's way more than just that, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of MMOs are just sticking to the same old kind of things, like stand out of the big red blob, run behind the pillar when he charges up and screams something, or it's just like we know that already. So they have to find new ways, but it's the same experience, just new ways of getting there.
Yeah. I don't. Owen, I just like the word you said with transparency too, because for all of you that are looking to pledge to different MMOs, there are some not transparent MMOs out there that you should be very afraid of pledging to, and it's treacherous out there. So, but I just feel like they're being more upfront than they have ever been about where they are and what they're doing, and I really just like that, because it kills all the, well, it's vaporware, and it kills all the the nonsense. At this point, to me, it's just nonsense if you don't think that this game is being made and it's serious. So
See that and Drac, that's a great point, and that's what bugs me the most. I think most of the time is that you see those other games that you are clearly nonsense and clearly, whatever scam, whatever you want to call it, and there's a lot of criticism out there, rightly so. But then you see something like they show you what they're doing through either visual demonstration or through this, like you said, LaFale, this clear laid out thing that how can you equate those two things? How can you equate a company that presents their game in this way and shows all these things with these other companies that are so not even in the same stratosphere, right? That are these fly by night operations that are garbage and don't do anything, right? Like it just that's what bugs me because I can ignore all the vaporware nonsense and people that don't believe it. I don't care if you believe it or not. Like I believe it, and I don't. Cool if you don't. If you do, great. But what bothers me is when you get like people who are saying it's the same as this, and it's like this Kickstarter MMO that never it's just these fly by night operations, right? It's not the same. It's not the same at all. It's completely different.
It's not, and nobody else, to my knowledge, and I follow everything that touches the internet of MMO. Nobody else has even tried to do this. Name one, because nobody else has actually tried to do this. Like, hey, we know what was cool and what was fun and what you loved, and we know what's wrong with what you don't like, and we're going to make this, but we're not going to copy it, right? We've had some of those, right? Like, hey, I'm not going to name any names, but we have MMOs where they're like, hey, this was a cool game, let's just replicate it. We've had plenty of that, tons of that. But nobody's even tried to do what they're doing. And I also want to say something that maybe isn't even true, but maybe it is, right? Like maybe VR wasn't as transparent before because they weren't at a place in development where it made any sense to be that transparent, right? Like there has to be a little bit of that going on too, where it's like now that we're at this point, now we can start really sharing what's happening, because before it would have been maybe super boring or it just wouldn't have made sense to the average person following the game. Like, hey, yeah, it really does take 4 months to do this, right? It may seem like to you nothing has happened, but actually we just laid a whole lot of foundation for the coding of the game, etc. So I just feel like sometimes, like, yeah, you maybe don't want to tell people that it takes 4 months to do this coding process that's going to make the rest of the game run faster. Maybe they made the right decision by just saying we're doing things that actually will make progress faster later. And that's what they were saying back. So that's where I get that from. No insider information. I'm just saying maybe that's why they're now being transparent, because they can be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything else on your mind, LaFell?
No, nothing else. It was great being here. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the year brings to Pantheon and this community, and to VR, because they're growing. So I think it's all positive.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they mentioned in the newsletter that they have more hires to announce soon too. So I'm looking forward to hearing about the team growing some more. So that's awesome, man. I'm so glad you could join us, LaFell. That's great. It's always good to see you. You're always here for the show and for the rewind, and we really appreciate it. So have a great night, man.
Cheers.
Later
guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
And you mentioned or you made me think of a point there, is like it's been a lot of constant steady hires, but there hasn't ever been that moment where they just went out and hired 20 people, right? Which that's sometimes where some of these companies get themselves in trouble, is when they overreach on their hires, and they seem really super cautious about that, about not getting too far over their head. They seem to be just slow growth all the way.
Yeah, I think that's what's sort of been their signature as a company, is that they've always been very careful with every step is very carefully made, and every choice is very carefully made, and I mean, I have no knowledge of how to run a game company. I have no business knowledge really whatsoever, but it seems to me that if you're making smart, cautious decisions, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah. And it might be painful to watch sometimes, right? Like we're just like, just pick somebody, you gotta go, you gotta get this game out. That's how we feel, right? But from their point of view, they're making steady progress. They're hitting their internal milestones, and they want the right person, because You get the wrong guy on, and not only do you not progress, you can go backwards, right? So super smart, I think, and hopefully they can continue that for a long time.
Yeah, more of these producers letters like this, and more of the content scheduling that we've seen, I think is really going to serve them well. All right, we ready for our next guest? I'm gonna pull Breakout in. You guys ready?
Oh, who's Breakout?
Some guy, you know.
He's our Comic-Con trooper.
Oh, Draq, you stole it from me, you son of a gun. I was gonna go there. All right,
Too
here
fast.
comes our Comic-Con. Hey, what's up, Comic-Con? Star Wars Super Soldier.
How's it going, guys?
It's going well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Right
Very,
on.
very good, considering the news that came out for Shaman.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you share the good shaman news?
Let me find it. I lost. I was just reading over it. Ooh, Mark of the Tide Fang increases an ally's dexterity and agility by X, and then temporal shift shifts an ally to the moment in time before they were stunned or mesmerized, effectively removing stun and mesmerize effects on the target.
It does stun too. That's super powerful.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that opens up avenues for the other healers to have something like it, to where they can get rid of like snaring effects or something like that.
I don't know. I think that's a very, to me, that I don't play shaman, but to me that seems like a very shaman signature thing. The shaman for Pantheon has always been about healing partly, but also more about like there's a time manipulation element to it, right? To the class. What was the name of that skill? What's the name of that skill that they showed a little while ago? Walk the Ages, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was a shaman skill.
Yeah.
Which was basically like a rewind button, right? It's like go back in time to do something, put things to a state that they were a few minutes ago.
Yeah, that one was to specifically save the shaman, though. That was kind of a selfish kind of spell.
Yeah.
This one helps your team, which I like.
Yeah. So you'll be able to basically take your group members and get them out of states that they were in, that they've been put in by the enemies, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's great. So it makes you want to.
I'm glad they changed their mind about that one shaman ability. By the way, where they were going to do the time manipulation where he could pause the whole server. I'm glad they took that one out. That would have been a little crazy.
Well, and you got a stat buff. That's like the EQ like staple of what the shaman is stat buffs, right? You get the 15 different shaman buffs, right?
Right. Yep. And then it helps melee too, so it feels very shamany. Definitely a melee buffer.
Somebody in chat made a good point. They said, imagine putting Walk the Ages on somebody and then they fall into that trap that Cohh fell into. You just pull them right out of it. It's like...
I'm super glad the shaman got something, because during this stream, they did that thing where Joppa just like deleted a NPC, and he made a joke about it being a shaman ability, but me being me took it not as a joke, so I was like, oh my god.
I saw that too. I was wondering what that was when he did that. I'm like, what just happened? How did he do that? Man, everybody always going to want to play shaman now for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So you were watching Joppa play pretty closely, I'd imagine, then Breakout.
Oh yeah, it was, and I love the healing animations that you see during the stream. That was those hit home for me.
Nice. Right. Anything with the anything else with the producer's letter that you noticed? Anything else on your mind?
Diminishing returns. I saw that on there. Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. That they were able to add that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to chain fear anything.
So
let's would in a dungeon anyways, but.
Right. Yeah, I want to read that actually, because that was really that stuck out to me too, and I'm trying to remember now exactly what it said. So I do want to try and find it here and actually read it. Where is it? Anyway, well, of course I can't find it in the moment, but
it should be. I see it under the wizard new radiate heat.
Just read it.
Spell. The first
Yes.
pass of the diminishing return system was implemented. For those not familiar with what diminishing returns are, here is a simple explanation using an ability that applies a detrimental status effect to a target repeatedly over a short period of time will diminish the effect's duration on the target until it becomes completely ineffective. This encourages a more thoughtful, strategic use of abilities in combat instead of relying on the same stun over and over again, for example.
Nice. So that's, I mean, that's a big deal. That makes a big difference for you know, because sometimes, some classes are very like, you know, specifically tuned or specifically um skilled for certain situations. So if you're in a situation with a class that, it's not your forte, like if you're a Dire Lord and you're not fighting magic users, because that's what Dire Lords are, they're sort of like the magic user tank. Um, you're fighting just strictly melee mobs. You might find yourself just using one ability over and over again. So this kind of affects that a little bit. It kind of puts them a little bit, challenges them a little bit more to find different approaches to those kind of situations. So it's
And
interesting.
And
Especially-
things like that. Oh, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No worries. Go ahead.
The things like that are why I'm happy that we have limited action set, right? Because you're gonna have to get to a point where you can get to that key when you need to get to it. You know exactly where it's at. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take long to playing Pantheon that you can get to that point where like 5 does this, and when I'm in this situation, I hit 5, right? Like, so if we had 3 hotbars and we had to somehow micromanage all that, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't be a top end player if it was the way Pantheon's is, and we had 3 hotbars. I'm too old. My brain doesn't work like that anymore. Maybe when I was younger, right? But like, no way. I don't have all those memorized. I have my first bar, my second bar mostly. Third bar, I'm looking at it. I don't have it memorized. You know what I mean?
You're clicking it. You're all mouse clicking it. Click.
Well, depend on the game.
Yeah, that's totally true. Somebody in chat made a good point. They said, for the diminishing returns, Rufius said you can't have a party of all monks doing a rotation of the knockdown attack over and over again.
No, it's true. Well,
we would do it. We would do it.
We would,
Yeah.
dude. If it got me experience, I'd totally be in that group.
Nope, I would cheese it, whatever it was. I will do it. If there's a cheese, I'll cheese it.
Well, you have to have diminishing turns in a game like Pantheon because we're not. Well, I say this, but we're not rolling our face on the keyboard and killing everything and moving on to the next thing, right? These mobs last for a long time. So when you have mobs that last that long, you can't allow one skill to just be abused over and over again. You gotta shake it up, make the players shake it up some. So I love the diminishing returns especially for a game like this is where the mob health is greater and the time to kill is greater. It makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, one thing too, while breakouts here, I want to mention, and I know we talk about it all the time, but every time that he's live or talking at all, it's like it's even better. Joppa is just so good at explaining anything in a way that you understand it and leaves a little bit of mystery. Like he'll answer a question, but it raises about 5 to 10 more questions.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's just like how do you do that? How do you get? I don't know how. I'm gonna study him. I'm gonna figure out that skill because that would come in handy so much in life. But he's so good at it, man.
Yeah, I think Joppa just ran away in fear, Nathan, hearing you say, I'm going to study him after some of the videos you've done with your conspiracy theories and your close-ups on his face. He's like, oh, no, not this again.
I need to do a new.
Yeah, you do. Studying the psychological effects of his, reading his facial expressions.
First, you're kidnapping Minus. Now you're going to start studying Joppa.
Yeah, Nathan's a maniac.
He's very vengeful. Very vengeful.
Very
what
vengeful.
to do with him.
That's our shirt today.
He will train you if he doesn't like you. He's a disciple of Ben Bean.
It's a true
I
story.
just want you guys to know that I'm editing evil parts of my thing, and I had to wear an evil shirt to be, in the mood.
You're role playing evil.
For chaotic evil players, I had to really make sure that I got this right, so I went full evil today.
Wow, that's sacrifice for your channel, for your fame, everything. That's
Just for
impressive.
this one day only.
One day only. It's like a sale.
He keeps saying one day only about a lot of different things. I don't know. I don't know.
Now, hang on. In my defense, I had no choice. Okay, if that was the only tank, so I even said very clearly I would not normally play Dire Lord, but it is the tank available right now. So,
Yeah.
First he's playing the Dire Lord. All of a sudden he's going to be using a two-hander. Like, it's all going downhill from here.
Right on. All right, Breakout. Anything else before we
Just congratulations to Minus. Yeah, he was a good pick.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, I think we all believe that this channel, our whole Pantheon Plus deal would not exist without Minus. He's an amazing dude.
Yep.
Speaking of Minus,
Right
he
on.
just hopped in chat, Mr. Transmog Bear himself.
yeah, I saw through your transmog. We saw through it.
Transmog Bear lives. I love Transmog Bear. He's my new favorite cartoon character, actually. He is wonderful. So, all right, Breakout. We'll talk to you later, man.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Yeah, see ya.
See you, Breakout.
All right.
We
So we're
toggled
down.
it off, Des says.
Toggled off the bear.
Toggled it.
Toggled
Nice,
off
nice.
transmog.
All right, are you guys ready for our caboose caller? Our always the caboose of the Pantheon PlusYou shows is Desrin. He's that's his traditionally been the last person to come on the show. He might not be tonight. We just had somebody else jump in, but I'm going to bring Des in anyway because he's been waiting. So, you guys ready?
Yeah,
Ready.
let's do
All
it.
right. Desrin.
Hey guys.
Hey,
What's
man.
up, Des?
I was introducing you as the caboose caller because you always are. But as I was saying that, another person jumped in the green room. So we're gonna. You're not the caboose tonight. You're like the quasi caboose.
The pseudo caboose.
You're just
the
pseudo
penultimate caboose.
You're just a coal car at this point. Sorry.
I'm fuel to the fire.
He's
There
just
you go.
transmogging as a caboose.
How are you doing, man? My co-host. What's up?
Oh man, doing fine. This Pantheon PlusYou is awesome. I'm glad to see a few new people to me jump in the green room.
Yep.
Yeah, already looking forward to the next one. It's almost weird not having this immediately after the dev stream, right?
Yeah. No, it's gotten very. We got very used to that. Very accustomed to the after party. It felt like an after party kind of thing, right? And this is a little different. But we actually got the co-stream and the producer's letter for this, so we kind of got two things.
I would have totally. I think all of us would have totally made the sacrifice and done it after the stream, except it was at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
sacrifices will be made.
You got to work with me on that. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, you'd see the side of us you might not want to know about.
That's not pretty. That's not pretty.
Good.
No.
Not good.
If I'd have showed that to my wife, she probably wouldn't have married me.
Yeah, that's one of those things you hold off on until the last possible moment when they can't say, "I really don't think we should get married anymore," and then they get to see that. So
locked in, loaded.
Locked in. That's right. So Desmond, what about the stream? What about the letter? Anything stand out?
Well, you guys have covered, a lot of it, but I did take some time to peruse a lot of the feedback to the co-stream specifically, like in the YouTube comments and things like that. And wow, like the feedback is overwhelmingly positive. And you see a ton of new people, like people that are saying, wow, this is the first time I've ever heard of this game. And it's just like absolute testament to Cohh's reach.
Yeah, he does. He's just got such a great variety audience. People who are into it. Like, I love that there were people watching and who are like, I'm getting EQ vibes out of this. And it's like, when I hear that, I'm like, not in a negative way, but like, yeah, like it's so obvious and it's so like, where I started at with this game. But people who are seeing it for the first time and they're seeing that, and it's like you realize there's people out there who still have never heard of this game. And,
yep, probably a lot of them, really. And that's what's exciting about Cohh's stream is, when you cycle through 15,000 people, you're going to get a ton of new exposure each time, and a lot of people that are probably only catching up since the last time you streamed it. So it's really good reach.
Yeah.
I did want to kind of poke at a few potential criticisms, though. I know you guys already touched on a few, but the main things that I'm noticing people talk about, first is the animations. It's always an issue. Like, I know they've made a lot of progress on the animations, but like, do you guys think that's still generally an issue, or is it only an issue to people that kind of expect, new mocapped kind of stuff?
Good question. Really good question. What do you guys think?
So, I love the animations. But I'm not I don't like the ones where it looks like a fireworks show, right? I don't like the ones where it's like every skill animation looks where we do triple backflips and over the top swinging down with both sword, and that's just your regular hit, right? Like I don't need. I like my special attacks to be special, and like I feel like we're still below level 20 with all this. Like the Howler's Cave is around that level, so we shouldn't have the super epic spells and stuff yet. So I said back when I pledged that I would play Pantheon in those graphics. So I'm just ecstatic about these graphics because they're way better than when I first pledged. So the graphics don't bother me personally. I know it's a big deal for some people, but I just like the style of the game is the overriding thing for me. So the graphics is not for me. I know it is for some people, but it's just not a thing for me.
So for me, I actually was an animator for many years, right? And so animation is really important to me. But of course, I have a different lens than some people because I've been following it and I've seen the progression. And I think there's a lot of really good animation here, right? The problem is animation takes a lot of time and the team's still small, etc. So we're getting it in bites kind of thing. But I notice every time there's a new animation, right? I'm like, whoa, I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the game before. And I think what they have is pretty good. I think there's obviously some systems that we know is coming that we're not getting to see in full effect yet that will help with animations, like moving from this to that fluidly and things like that. That's more like post-game production. Or not post-game, I'm sorry. That's more like late-game production in alpha beta, probably, I would think. But it is important to me, but I do also agree with Draq, like, they have. I feel like with the kind of game that Visionary Realms is going for, Pantheon, it's based in a more gritty, realistic, lower fantasy kind of thing, right? It's more like advanced Dungeons and Dragons kind of feel, right? To me, anyway. And I know it's got some crazy, the worlds collide, all that, right? But that's not really like science fiction or getting into like really high fantasy kind of things. So I think that they got to find a way to where it looks cool. Like the monk, for example, looks cool, but it doesn't look outrageous, right? And then in higher levels, they get some special abilities that really do look really crazy. And then when you get to use those, you feel really cool. Like it's a super awesome, eye-catching thing. Instead of like Final Fantasy 14, where your very first attack you get freaking, sparks and fireworks fly out of you, and your butthole's on fire, and you're swinging around like crazy. Like that's outrageous. And so nothing's cool in that game, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a really cool black mage fireball attack thing that I don't remember what it's called, and it's really cool, but nobody cares. It's just all this too much fluff. So I think they're on the right path, but you can obviously tell they got more to go.
Right.
Yeah. The animations to me seem very understated, and I like that. And I'm not specifically saying the graphics. I'm talking about the movements of the characters. I think that they look they're consistent with the tone of the graphics. Graphics have a very I think, Nathan, you were saying that like they have like a D&D, like a high fantasy, but like a gritty D&D. And I think that the animations are of the same caliber, where they're understated, they're not over the top. Are they a little bit stiff at times? Maybe. I think that the monk video that they released a little while ago, I think was a perfect example of what animation, the good animations can really, where the level they can get to. Because I think that monk video did a good job. Now, you watch the video from the co-stream, and like some of the other ones are not as good yet, but the monk should be better animated. The monk is more athletic. They do more crazy physical stuff. The enchanter doesn't need to be as animated because they're just casting spells with their hands and that kind of stuff. They don't bother me is I guess what I'm trying to say is if it launched with these animations, I wouldn't, it wouldn't be a sticking point for me. But I think there is a level of polish that probably more people than me would expect.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the reason I wanted to bring it up is that it's a consistent thorn in the side that I notice every time there's any new content. I don't know if it's really a deal breaker for a lot of people, but it's definitely something I notice. At least like you actually said, the word that I would use is stiffness, and I think that actually has to do a lot with the animation system that they use. I'm pretty sure it was talked about on one of the dev roundtables fairly recently, but I don't want to try to like quote it just in case I'm wrong here. But it's definitely something I'd like to see them improve on, specifically with just kind of the transitions, because that kind of gets to me that you just like really snap back to an upright position. That's really the only thing that bothers me. That and the sound effects, not right like matching the impacts, which again is something I'm sure they'll work on. But otherwise, I noticed a lot of the feedback had trouble noticing the NPC AI in the stream. And I love your thoughts on it, but my quick kind of 2 cents is just that Pantheon is a hard game to show the feeling of playing it. Because when you look at newer games that are very action-based, you get this kind of visceral experience because it's just like hacky slashy, a lot of action craziness. But in Pantheon, unless you know what's going on, it doesn't look like a lot's going on sometimes,
Yeah.
So do you guys think they should explain more about what's happening, or should they just kind of hope that people, take a closer look?
I think that I don't think they need to show more. They could explain more. They could sort of be more granular about it in terms of saying exactly what an NPC is doing at any given moment. I think they did there were quite a few points where they called that out. I think what you're getting at, Des, and what I see in my head when you're saying that is like modern games, whenever a mob does a real cool like counter move, there's always like, not always, but like sometimes there's text, they pops up above their head with like an exclamation point, like, countered, or like, very actiony, very in your face, but it's also very it's very blunt. It's very there's no missing it. You always know exactly what the mob just did because they tell you what the mob just did. I think Pantheon's, you said it well. You have to really play it to get a feel for what's going on, and seeing and reacting and being intuitive to the mob's behavior is an in-game thing that's probably hard to show. So I think that's a great point. What about you guys?
Well, modern MMOs have like sold out on this thing. Like they're not even putting exclamation points above things' heads. They're painting whole red squares on the ground of the next attack that the mob's going to do. Right? You see the exact area in which the mob's going to strike, and you have to dodge to the area that's not red. Right? And listen, I've played those games. I've done those games, and they're fun. But that's, as Cohh said in the stream a couple of different times. He talked about this, is that's not this type of game, right? And I think that there are some really subtle parts to combat that I really like. There's a lot of chess, right? A lot of thinking ahead,
Yes.
and what move's going to be, what move am I going to do if he does this move, type of thing. And I really like that aspect of it. And I think rather than I don't think they should do it while they do these streams, because I think these streams should just really reflect, like, as I said at the start, like everybody's having fun, everybody's having a good time. They're just like the three of us, like just hitting a dungeon in the MMO1, and we're just having a good time. I think that should be the vibe of these streams. But maybe like one of the other dev streams, they could break they could break it down and be like, okay, so here's a mob and here's a guy, and okay, you do this, the mob does this, then you do this. Like you could that would be an interesting stream to me. Just
Yeah,
to
kind
see
of like
all-
the AI stream, right?
Yeah, you could see all the counters and stuff, and have the devs walk us through that in slow motion. I think that would be super cool.
That would be cool. I want to say that I do think on the point of streaming the game, and that being because this is a small company, so we're looking at a lot of their advertisement is going to kind of be this grassroots kind of thing where people stream it and that's how they find out about it, and then they decide to try the game, right? But what I think is that this is fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. We're at a point where people will just about try anything. Bless Unleashed had 80,000 concurrent viewers. Okay, so I've been saying this a long time. People will give Pantheon a shot. Tons of people will, right? In EverQuest and Pantheon, they have a secret that you have to play it to know and understand, and you don't have to play it for long, especially in Pantheon, to find this secret. And the secret is that you get in a group and you get your, first you got to kind of break the camp and, kind of learn how to do that, right? And then once you get in your groove, you're just hanging out and it feels real relaxed and you're just talking to your group and you're having a good time and it feels real chill. But then something unexpected happens and you're chill and you let your guard down.
Draq throws a
And you're
fireball at a
wiping and
crippling.
you're clutch healing and it's wild and crazy again. And then, it rinses and repeats. And that kind of gameplay is super addicting because you get a mix of both, right? You get the chill and relax, you get the crazy, high tense, heart beating, like, oh my God, we're gonna die, and the penalties are really bad, we don't want to die right now. So I think that based on just the pathetic landscape of MMOs today, that if Bless Unleashed got 80,000 concurrent players on Steam, Bless Unleashed, the worst name you could possibly name an MMO.
No, the redo of the worst game ever.
A redo, right? And in the most generic way possible, right? Unleashed. Well, like we were talking about some other show, like, yeah, we were taming Blessed before. Now we're going to unleash it. Like, beware. Like, such a horrible marketing strategy, and it still did that good. So I really still stand by that people will give it a chance just because it's an MMO. It'll look really interesting just from the land perspective, the attention to detail, and all that kind of thing. So people give it a chance, and then once they get in that gameplay loop, I think a lot of people will find it super engaging and fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love the answers, specifically the chess one, because that's how I try to describe Pantheon gameplay to potential new people is, hey, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that's not going to just jump out at you. If you look really closely, you'll see stuff is happening, but it's not just going to come out and tell you. It's more like watching a game of chess where if you know what's happening, it's extremely exciting. If you don't know what's happening, it just looks like people are moving squares, stuff around on squares.
It's a great analogy, Des. Totally agree with you on that one, man.
Very true. Yeah.
Right
anyway,
on.
Great convos, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Des. We'll talk to you later, man. All right. Got two more folks in the green room. We got Zoo, who I will bring in next. Hey, Zoo. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Coming
you.
in loud and clear.
Great. Yeah, I just muted the stream. So
Nice.
long time, first time.
Yeah, right on, man. I know you've been in here for the shows before, and I know that your name is familiar. I'm glad you had they made the choice to come and chat on the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you. A couple things, if you'll indulge me. Like everyone, I see you guys jumping from game to game, trying to find something to do as we all wait for more of this game. Yeah, desperately. People try just about anything, as Nathan was saying. I appreciate seeing you guys doing that.
Nice.
I'm certainly struggling. What am I going to do before one game goes on to the next? But I'm also having to wait for beans about the druid class. I'm one of those unfortunate people who wants to play a druid. There's no information.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what do you on classes, what do you guys think Pantheon is doing for rewarding playing the right class versus rewarding playing your class right or well?
A great question. What do you guys think?
I think it's a mix
Yeah.
of. I think it's a mix of both. I think that certain situations, they've. I mean, they've all. I think they've just come out and flat out said it that certain situations will bend to certain classes. Like I think about the paladin for instance. It's going to be an undead killer, right? So so in certain situations, it's just going to flat out be better to have a paladin. But then there is also it's also supposed to, they're designing it to be a very skilled MMORPG, and they've said that any of the classes that fit into the different archetypes can fulfill the role. So that leads me to believe that okay, so we may not have the paladin, we got the dire lord. We may not absolutely dominate it, but we can still get through it if our dire lord is good enough. And so that's part of the fun to me too, because I like especially with like EverQuest and those old MMOs, I like going back through and like running it with the non-optimal classes just to see if I can do it. That's super fun to me, and so I'm looking forward to that type of stuff in Pantheon.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of like, different types of players, how people play games differently. And what you said, Zoo, like the right class, or you're playing your class well. And there are some people who will play any class. Like they don't, it's not like us. Like we identify with classes, as we do in our 101 show. Like, but there's people who don't really identify with a class. They'll play whatever class is going to be most needed, is most powerful. Like there's no sort of like identity connection to the class, which is fine. I mean, that's the one way of playing the game. So I think that for people like that, Pantheon will reward people like that by being more, needed maybe, or more readily able to find groups, or maybe able to do content. But then people who identify with their class are going to get way more satisfaction. Or maybe this is just me speaking, but will get way more satisfaction because they know their class isn't the best or the most needed, but they feel like connected to it, and they feel like they've worked on those skills and become really good at it. So I think that Pantheon can meet both those needs, and I think it will reward both those styles of play.
Let's be honest too. There's going to be some people out there that play all the classes. Zealot.
Zealot's a ranger. I mean, come on now. He is a ranger.
He's going to start a ranger, but I guarantee you, he's going to roll one of everything.
I think too, we've seen enough of classes now to see that ceiling between a good player and a really good player. There's a pretty big gap there with the way that they've laid out abilities. The monk was a really good example of that. The rogue is a really good example of that, where like a rogue can like fulfill many roles if it's a really skilled player who's done their homework and knows what to do, etc., in what situations. And because all the classes are being laid out for like situational type things, and you got the limited action set, so how intelligent were you before you even went into this particular dungeon or what have you, will play a big role. So I think that's really exciting to me because I'm a one class kind of guy, right? So when I play my class, I can just play it all the time, and I know that there's this really high ceiling that I can just continue to try to strive for to be really good at my class. And you'll have to learn all the dungeons, you have to learn all the bosses, you'll have to learn all the traits, all the dispositions. You have to learn all this stuff and really have a really solid, good understanding of it to really know what you need to bring with you as far as, and it even goes into gear, like what gear should I wear if we're going to this play. I mean, the ceiling is so huge that playing your class right, I think you can get by at a medium level and be okay, especially if you've got a good group. But I think there'll be a lot of those epic kind of moments where you feel really good, like, yeah, I just saved the whole party and I really pulled the party through that. I think there'll be a lot more of those moments because it's not trying to care bear it and hold our hands through it. So, and give us that really high ceiling to reach for. So that's my take on classes. And that is why I'm most excited about playing Pantheon as like a full-time freaking thing, lose my job and, family and everything, right? Like just whatever, like this is what I do. So, yeah. And it's because of that. That's why I'm so bought in.
Yeah.
So I had another question. I want to read a quote from the producer's letter here. This is the HDRP part, because to me it seems like they've pivoted from working directly on those classes to focusing more on this. So the quote is, once completed, we will easily be able to support the massive number of concurrent alpha players who are ready to get their feet onto the soil of Terminus. I'm wondering, because in waiting for this, I've been watching other games develop, Ashes of Creation, I'm wondering if you think they've learned anything through their development process and maybe what their fans and the community want them to focus on, or what they think would be more effective.
Good question. Yeah, something it reminded me of from the producer's letter that we haven't talked about yet is they noted that the VIP Discord is now have the champions. If you've pledged a champion level, you can now join the VIP Discord, which was previously just VIPs. So they're bringing more people in to sort of into the fold, so to speak, and bringing more pledges in. I think in anticipation of getting more people in the world, when Alpha gets here and when the next phase arrives, that they can do that. Have they been influenced? Is this because of the influence of watching other games in development? I would I would imagine there is. I would be hard to believe that they aren't. It's a there's a current in MMO development. There's like and there's contemporaries that I think that they see themselves with, and this is me speaking clearly as not one of VR, but just sort of saying like, I think that there's a class of MMOs in development that they sort of see themselves as being contemporaries with, and they want to stay, with the current. I don't know. Maybe that's just my take. What do you guys think?
No, I definitely think they feel the pressure. I think they of just they're good friends with the Ashes crew. They talk back and forth. I think so. I think it pushes them, but I not to the point where they're going to rush. But I just think that, like we were talking about before, where it's just steady and slow, pushing forward. I just think that, especially with the transparency of laying out where everything is, they got to get the networking done so then they can get the alpha people in, right? So I just think that as far as what they've learned, I'm sure they've learned a lot, because they've been through some doozies of some where they've had to take steps back, and the what I call the dark year, or what people call the dark year. Like I imagine that they've learned a ton, and that's probably why at this point they're so cautious in promising things, because they learned, like, if we promise a bunch of stuff and we can't deliver on it, then that's worse than just kind of taking it slow and moving along.
Yeah, and I think they've done a good job of fighting the easy path too, right? So I think that's going to be really important for Pantheon going forward, is that, like, sometimes, maybe even a lot of the times, the fan base is wrong, right? Like, what we want and are asking for wouldn't be good for the game, and I think that they've got a really good head on their shoulders at deciphering and figuring that out, right? Like, if you think back, there's been tons of times where Java answers a question that somebody asked that I thought was a legitimate question too. Like, yeah, that's a great question. And then when he answers it, he's kind of like, we can't do that because X, Y, Z. It would ruin this. It would cause that. It would this, that, So I think that they're great at, like, staying true to the vision. The vision hasn't changed at all. And sometimes that means not listening to the fans, right? Not listening to what other MMOs are doing that are successful, but to forge your own new path. And I feel like that's super important for what they're doing. I think they've done that really well.
So iGouge is asking about the Ranger and why the pet system is dependent on the network. I'm not a developer, not a programmer. But from what I understand is, so if you're placing more NPCs on the screen, right? If you're a ranger and you're summoning hawks, or you're summoning a wolf, or you're summoning whatever, everyone else in your party and in an MMO, everyone else around you has to see that, and so the information has to go from your character, then to all those characters, and then back to your character. And every time you do any action, and especially with summoned things, because you're actually now creating new NPCs in the world as you summon them, that's a toll on the network. And so the network would be specifically something that needs to be solid before that type of stuff is put into the game. That's my, I guess, best guess. Again, not a programmer, not a developer.
I think that is it. I think you hit on the nail on the head. Because like every time something happens in the game, it has to take that information, relay it to the server has to relay it back to everybody else. So adding pets would have just super complicated until they get that network coding completed.
Because remember, the pets themselves on the summoner you're gonna be able to activate stuff on the pet that you've created. So that's just like another layer of like information that has to go to this NPC that then has to go to everyone in your group, and like, so it's just it's more and more information that has to be relayed over the network. And so if they don't have that lockdown, then that's going to be a problem with those classes.
Yeah, and Pi Gaming said in the chat, like, it amazes me how well EQ worked back in its time. Even the developers said that so were they. You know, like they did, and they had no idea what was going to happen, and they were just as amazed as we are.
Like, yes, it works.
It works.
Yeah. Except when you got disconnected underwater at Kedge Keep and you were angry, then it didn't work so well. So.
Dude, how many? Dude, I probably died like at least more than 10 times zoning into Ocean of Tears. Okay, so
yeah,
I know exactly what happens when the network goes screwy.
It worked, but it didn't work at the same time. Right on. Yeah. So Zoo, man, thanks for joining us.
Dude,
anything
those are
else?
Great questions.
Yeah, really good questions, dude.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Do you mind if I slip one little one in?
No, right on. Yeah, go for it.
This is a quicker one. You know, I see you guys playing all these other games. You know, assuming you play a little New World.
Yeah.
Do you all play on the same server? Of course you play on the same server, but you play in the same company or different factions and wage war against each other?
Oh, we're working on that. We're working on that. Figuring it out. I know our guild is gonna play New World.
I gotta step in here on this.
Yeah.
Because I PvP with these guys, and if they join a faction, I'll hit the other one in a PvP game. Okay.
he can farm us.
Yeah, right, he will farm us.
They always pick the one that loses. Okay, so I don't even think it's their fault. It's just bad luck. That's just the roll of the dice.
Dude, I've been picking losers in PvP since Dark Ages of Camelot came out.
That's what started it. Like, you went Hibernia.
I was Hibernia before it was cool.
It's super cool now.
Nice. All right, Zoo. Thanks for joining us, man. We'll talk to you later. Bye. All right, guys. We have the last one of the night. We have Bronson, our buddy Bronson. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, Bronson. Here you go. Hey, Bronson.
Hey.
How goes it?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Good. You're officially the last caller of the evening.
You are the actual caboose.
Yes,
I am. I'm tailing behind everyone.
That's right. So you've always got interesting insights. You've got professional experience with this kind of stuff. What's your take on all this?
Well, it's a mixed bag. I mean, not in a negative way. There are So I got some comments to make about that aren't going to be positive, but overall, I mean, it was overwhelmingly amazing to watch. The stream was great. There's, I have some criticisms. Most of them are just about artistic stuff.
Yeah, well, let's hear it. I'm curious.
Just like spell effects. Some of the spell effects, I sort of wish they all feel like when I'm watching the stream, they all felt like they're all attacks. They didn't feel like I didn't get a sense that I was witnessing a heal. It just didn't feel like when a heal was happening, you don't automatically know that by visually seeing it. Everything sort of appeared to be a damage effect of some sort, in my opinion. That's
Right.
just so that kind of stuff, and then piggybacking off of what Desmond was saying earlier, um, with respect to like somebody, I guess somebody was saying, or people were saying they couldn't see the mobs
Mm.
down there. Um, I agree with that, and I think that that's a simple fix. I think a lot of this stuff may be in their minds already, So I that's why I'm not going to be overly critical about this. It's just they may be thinking some of these things already. Like say, just for instance, the mob not being able to be seen, that could be an easy fix with the shader. Um, there's there's a shader that they can create that has this highlight that gives it a subtle glow around it,
Yeah.
so that makes them more easier to see in the dark. Maybe they want them to be hard to see. It's kind of like the Shadow Men from EverQuest, right? So
Right. Yeah.
maybe that
Shadow
maybe
Man. Jeez.
yeah
I
maybe so
haven't thought
maybe
about those guys in 20
Woo!
years. Oh man, they were
Yeah,
awful.
those things were horrible.
Yeah, they're worst.
So this is all totally just a guesstimation
Yeah.
on my part, and just maybe an unfounded criticism, but it's
No,
just things I want to I think about when I was watching the stream. So
I got a question for you. I'm really interested in
yeah.
this because there's divergent opinions on this. The giant meteor fireball, the slow moving meteor that was new to this, we'd never seen this before. It was usually like a bolt. Are you on the like that side or the dislike that side of that thing?
I'm in the middle because what I'm seeing is it's not done. I don't think it's finished. I mean, I don't think it's
Yeah,
complete. I think what we're seeing is kind of a stand-in, um, makeshift sort of like effect, because
fair
that
enough.
thing it doesn't even explode. So I'm imagining at the final finishing polished phase of things that meteor is going to kind of have an exploding effect when it hits the target.
Yeah, it
Whereas
just
right
kind of
now you just
stops when it gets there,
right,
right?
exactly. So you just
It looks
it
so
looks
weird.
it does look very odd. So yeah, I wasn't concerned about that because that's the kind of thing I was thinking, well, that's probably going to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff that I'm even bringing up is most likely going to change. So I'm not overly concerned. It's just that
Hmm.
I hear people say, and I want to voice it too because I feel some people talking about the animations. I you know yeah,
Yeah.
it's not perfect, but we're still in the early phases of this, as sad as that may sound, because of how long the production has been going on, but it's still they're getting there step by step. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, there is definitely like, there's still room to grow with it, and some of the animations you mentioned, I think I know what you're saying. Like, that they don't always feel like a healing animation. It doesn't feel like it doesn't appear like a healing animation. The Enchanter animation, I got to say, the mesmerize animation, I
right,
really like that. I think that
absolutely,
definitely signals what that is, right? Like
right.
that's an example of a animation that gets across what it is. So
Yeah, so it's definitely not all of them. Another thing that I noticed that it would be interesting to me to see, not necessarily, and it's going to sound odd to even think of this, but the color coding in the sense that you as a player know exactly what's happening. If it's red, it's danger, type of thing. Not necessarily that simplistic, but somewhere you get like we all know that blue and yellow often represent a heal spell of some sort, at least at least from EverQuest.
yeah,
A lot of those colors were you know coordinated.
associated with something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
exactly. So if there's something to be done with that, that would be cool. I mean, I know that fire is a wizard, you know,
Hmm.
color, orange. So that's all. I don't know if I want to say that should be something across the board, but it would just be easier for the player. So like when using the example of where you're talking about the enchanter, how he can steal a spell, rather than seeing the exact same spell, which is whether or not this is a VR choice or not, but if it's not meant to confuse the player, which as Joppa mentioned, it frightened him a little bit because he wasn't sure if it was sometimes the actual mob itself was casting it.
Hmm.
So
It's true.
maybe change the color if it's the player stolen version. I don't know. Just it's the same effect, but maybe the color is a slight variation, so that the group members can maybe read that it's not
Yep.
the
Just
mob.
react to it, be able to understand what's going on. I agree.
Right, something like that. Maybe it's just a possibility.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I kind of like the fact that it's hidden.
Okay, yeah.
If
No,
they're gonna steal the spell, it should be steely, right? It should be hidden.
I get that perspective as well. I totally understand that. It's just that for me, when watching it, and then I would personally, I could go either way, because I think we're gonna all learn it as we're playing it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna say okay, or we're gonna be communicating with each other.
Yeah, Sparrow just mentioned that in chat. She said Enchanter's going to have to be a bit more vocal and saying they're casting a stolen spell. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, guys,
Yes.
this animation you're about to see, this is mine, not the mob's. Just FYI, heads up.
Right. Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think with the art, too. If we could have a time machine and go into the future for 10 seconds and just see 10 seconds of Pantheon at launch and then come back, I think we'd be shocked. I think we'd be like, "What? That was Pantheon?" Like,
Yeah.
because they haven't put a whole lot of attention into it, right? There's some they put some into it because they have artists and things working, but I think that the vast majority of that work is waiting uh, way further after they get the systems in place, the network code. And actually, one time they mentioned, it wasn't too long ago, Joppa, or I think Joppa mentioned, somebody said, I think they were talking about the gray boxing or something, and they said something about even we have terrain ready to go that we could just throw on there. The problem is the network's so not ready yet that it's just going to slow and chug everything down. That's just not worth it. We're not testing how good that looks anyway. So it wouldn't shock me if there's a lot of texture work and stuff like that that actually is ready to go, but they won't put it in the game yet because it just taxes the server coding too much to just even be worth it for what they're trying to test right now.
So a lot of stuff could appear after the network situation is figured
I think
out.
so. I think we'll be shocked by that. Yeah, but then once again, they still haven't really focused on, like, all right, it's time to make the animations look good and fix up some artwork, etc. They really haven't focused on that, yet. And I think they'll purposefully wait till. But it's a good point because when we hit beta, it's going to be super important that it looks good in it and the animations are smooth and stuff because that's that's when the floodgates open, right? And
Yeah.
brand new eyes, and they're going to be judging it. Beta, you get judged, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
It's absolutely yeah. That is either a really good place to be or a really horrible time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You'll
totally.
get everybody will be just trying to destroy it, or you'll get a lot of positive and negative feedback in that time.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I think that art's going to be super important by beta for
No, I
sure.
absolutely
Yeah.
agree with you on that point. It's going to be night and day, I think, in a lot of respects. I think what we're seeing in Halnir is going to. I mean, it looks amazing right now, in my opinion. I think the art, the lighting, the color choices, really great. Um, yeah, I think that the lighting's going to probably even get better once they do um, their URP or HDRP pass, right? HDR pass. Um, so yeah, once they get all that stuff in there, it's gonna look even better. So yeah,
Yeah.
second, one of the things I came on is to say congratulations, guys. You got rid of Minus, and I think this is, I don't know if this is your first show since Minus is
It is.
left you
Yep.
guys just hanging in the
Yeah.
least hanging in the wind.
Swaying in the wind. Yeah, I totally
Calling him
agree.
out.
I have to give him some crap about that.
Look, he
Yeah.
got his loot and he's out. Who
Yeah, that's
expected
right.
him to get
Yeah, it was a rogue move.
It was a
Yeah.
role play. He was role playing, guys.
Yeah, but I definitely want to congratulate you guys, and on having the show still,
Thanks, man.
and also congratulate Minus. Well, well done, my friend. You're in.
Yeah, no, he he definitely deserves it. But and yeah, no, thank you for saying that, Bronson. Appreciate that. This is Drac set this all up, so credit to Drac. He's
Yeah.
taken over this aspect of things. So he's been the mastermind, the wizard, if you will, the wizard of our dreams. He actually proved he knows how to use more than just fire. He actually can use Twitch and other things other than casting fireballs. So
Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Don't let the word get out.
That's right. Mom's the word.
Yeah, mom's word is right. Right on.
All right.
Thanks, Bronson. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to you later, man.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Have a good night, man.
All right, guys. That's it for the green room.
Should we give away this pledge?
It is time to run the giveaway. Okay, so we've got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names in the hat. So you have a good chance. You have a 1 in 7 chance if you've entered the draw tonight.
That's good.
So, yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so drum roll, please. I'm going to hit the randomizer. The winner is LaFale. LaFale, our Aussie buddy. Hey, man. I know he was just saying he was going, he had a meeting, he had to duck out. I don't know if he's still here, but LaFale, you won yourself a Watcher's Pledge, man. So that is pretty sweet.
He's still here.
Nice. Okay, there's the link for the comment picker. LaFale, you are the winner. So what we'll do is we've got you. We know you in Discord. We've connected with you before. So what we'll do is we'll get you the information for that and how to go about getting that pledge set up. And yeah, man, it's awesome. These are always fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, congrats. I think that wraps up the show. What do you guys think?
That's it. You guys got any parting thoughts?
No, I'm saying I'm looking forward to next month already. I know Minus is hard at work with his new duties over there, getting everything together. So I look forward to seeing what the month of September holds for content for Pantheon. And yeah, man, I think things are looking good.
Mr. Nathan?
Yeah, I just want to say, as a parting thought for people to think about is places like they showed off here, many of the dungeons that they've shown off, and the difficulty level of some of these dungeons, I think it's worth noting and thinking about that as far as like people going there and grouping up and going in deep and finding, and working their way through the dungeon. It's worth noting with the difficulty level and with the penalty of death, a lot of groups won't go there if they don't have XYZ, right? They'll be out in the overworld. They'll stay near the entrance or things like that because that penalty's real and it hurts. And the more we watch and the more we see a Pantheon, the more I think about that, like how things are going to be like that. People are going to behave so much differently to where it'll be like, look, we don't have an Enchanter tonight. Let's maybe not go deep into Halnir's Cave, right? Maybe we find somewhere else to go tonight. I just like to think about stuff like that because Joppa talks about a lot about, hey, spreading out people so they're not all trying to get to Halnir's Cave, etc. And I think that the difficulty mixed with the penalty of death really is going to go a long way when people are making decisions like that.
Yeah, we haven't actually seen them not quote unquote cheat through a dev stream, right? They're rezzing themselves and putting themselves back into action right away.
Right.
That's a good point.
Whereas a real group, right? If you're us schlepping through Halnir's Cave, you go all the way to the bottom, you wipe, and now you're at the top. Now you got to go trudge through all this stuff you already beat again. Like that's a whole deal.
And with that penalty, man, that hurts, man. You can't just be, willy-nilly running through a dungeon like we do on MMORPG 101, because if we behaved that way, we would be level 1 quickly and forever, You know
what the secret is, though, guys? I'll tell you both. The secret is that trauma creates bonds. That's what it's all about. When you go through something traumatic, whether it's losing experience or having getting far and then wiping when you get to the Thief of Destiny, like in the stream we saw, it may suck in the moment, but you know what? You create something that you can't even anticipate. And, I've seen it happen. It's happened to me, and it's just one of those things that people will have to experience before they buy into it,
Well, I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, for coming out. We had, at the top, it was like 40 people on the stream. That's amazing. Thank you, Nathan and Therek, for joining me. I was a little nervous about this stream.
Hold it off, man.
Minus leaves some big shoes to fill, but I feel like it went really well tonight. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. I had a total blast, and we will see you guys next time. And I'm super excited for. We'll be doing MMORPG next Tuesday, and when we hear about the next dev stream, we'll hopefully it will work within our schedule to do it afterwards. But we'll let you know on that. Everybody
right on.
Everybody have a great night.
Good night, everyone. Pantheon Plus was founded on the idea of community matters. Our mission is to foster the most engaged, kind, and helpful community that any MMORPG has ever seen. Your participation fuels not only different ideas from different points of view, it's also the foundation of everything we do at Pantheon Plus. We strive to be the megaphone that gets your opinions and viewpoints out there to be discussed. And the best part is, more than any other game we've seen, the devs are listening.
So we invite and encourage you to drop in on Discord and leave a question for the Rewind. Or maybe you'd prefer to join the Green Room and add your 2 cents to the newest content that is dropped for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Or maybe you want to write some fan fiction and put it on the Pantheon Plus website. Or if you're really brave, you could do a Plus profile with me and tell everyone about your MMO gaming history.
We want you to stop lurking in the background and start to make your mark on the world of Terminus. So when that glorious day comes and Pantheon launches, everyone will know the name of your adventurer. Community matters.
#Community matters.